You heard that right. The first whistle sounded, and you know what that means. It's final whistle time on a late Saturday night. But that's okay. We're still here. Even though it's late, we'll just call it we'll call it the late night whistle. Sorry, Jimmy Kimmel, but your show's not over. Your show's poop anyway. Our show's where it's at.
We're us.
Yeah, our show's where it's at.
We're us, and he's not, and neither is that moron Colbert. He doesn't get to be called Colbert.
Yes, exactly.
He's not sophisticated. Yes. But of course, if he asks me to be on his show, I'll say yes happily, just to show him some real entertainment. And Austin could show him some real entertainment too.
Yes, but Jackson, speaking of real entertainment, we got a lot to cover tonight because we had some exciting games. You know, for Cupcake Week, you know, we had Oregon surviving in Madison. Kansas just knocked off one of the 4 unbeatens. Alabama played Mercer. Stanford, the Tree, you know, Pitt, Clemson, the terrible officiating. We've got it all here tonight. We're going around the association. We're going to talk about it all. And, you know, what better way to start it off than on a nice Friday night where Washington is now officially bowl eligible.
Nice.
But manners first. Manners first. How are you, Jackson?
And I'm all right. How are you doing, man? And how are you doing, Austin?
I could be better, but I'm all right. At least Colorado won today. At least my grandma's happy, so that's always a plus.
But happy birthday, Dave Valinsky, man.
Happy birthday, Dave. You're 46 years young. Minnesota's going to win you a title yet before you turn 50. I have faith.
I hope that happens for his sake, man. That'd be cool. But UCLA, there's still a lot for bowl eligibility because I've been keeping up a list of teams that are still fighting for bowl eligibility, and let me see. So there's 3. Okay, 3. Well, five teams still alive for bowl eligibility in Sun Belt, but anyway, we'll go over all that at the end of the show.
Yes, but as for this game, Jackson, it kind of went how I thought it would, the way I predicted it. Washington at night's a tough place to play, and it showed all night long. UCLA, you know, if it hadn't been for Will Rogers throwing those 2 interceptions, it could have gotten a whole lot worse sooner. Like, I don't know how much of this you watched, Jackson. I'm assuming you watched it because we're sickos, you know. We're glutton for punishment. But if Will Rogers doesn't throw those 2 picks, then let's be honest, this game could have gotten a whole lot worse, a whole lot faster.
I mean, we kind of punished ourselves by watching the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight, but it's like we just gotta watch it because we know that one guy, or there's like somebody like, hey, you want to watch the fight with us? Like, yeah, sure, why not? Is Mike Tyson? Oh my God, it was so bad. Well, we're gonna torture ourselves a little bit with UCLA, Washington, Houston, Arizona, and we got Dave Valinsky joining us for tonight's edition of the Final Whistle. How are you doing, my man? Oh, nothing. He is out for the moment, but he should be back.
But yeah, Jackson, I had no clue that Jake Paul and Mike Tyson were even having a fight, but until I looked at Twitter and I'm like, oh, that's today. But nonetheless, you're not here to hear us talk about boxing. You're here for college football, what we do best, what we deliver each and every week.
We don't know anything
good win,
about
Washington. No.
And we have Mr. Dave back on with us. How you doing tonight, good buddy?
I'm doing good. I have no idea what just happened. It just knocked me right out.
Uh-oh. And it knocked him out again. Damn. StreamYard doing that mess around.
Well, we will keep trudging on, and hopefully Dave will fix that. But Jackson, I believe the Houston hype, and they let me down.
Yeah. They didn't even get a touchdown against Arizona. That's the most depressing part. They didn't even get a touchdown.
And no. Jackson, where was this Arizona a couple weeks ago? They just all of a sudden decided that they were going to decide to play?
That was
Like,
just,
oh my
oh
God.
my, that was terrible.
I should have went Arizona in the desert. I should have, but daggone it.
It was just disastrous. Disastrous.
Yep. But, yeah, good for Arizona. They needed a good quality win. Nice they got it in that fashion. But, and good win. But, Jackson, we know there's better games ahead, especially on our Saturday slate.
Oh, like Wrigley Field with Ohio State.
That was ugly. Oh, that was ugly. No. Let's talk. Good. You want a cookie, Ohio State? Good job. You beat Northwestern. Now shoot. Let's talk about your rivalry that you like, Jackson.
Oh my God, the Texas Arkansas. Oh man, the Texas Arkansas matchup. Oh man, it was.
Did it live up to your expectations, Jackson? I know you were really.
I wanted it to be
closer,
but you know what? I got what I wanted. I feel like a kid on Christmas morning opening presents, seeing this game.
I'll say this, Jackson. Is it just me, or is Texas playing a lot of these non-superior teams like a lot closer than they have the last 2 years?
All right.
Here we go. And we got you back on the line, Dave. We are so sorry about this.
I'll turn my camera off because it's fuzzy.
Oh, man. How you doing today, Dave?
I'm doing good.
Oh, man.
It's nice to have a bye week after a bad loss and just watch everybody else play. I enjoyed, a lot. I was at the morning games weren't as exciting, but the afternoon and the night games were great.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Texas, Arkansas, it was good. I was surprised Arkansas kept it as close as they did, but then Texas, their talent finally showed up and put them away at the end.
Yeah, I was hoping for Arkansas to pull off the upset on that one.
Well, that's the thing too about this game is I will say this. Texas, I think going into it knew this was going to be a dogfight. It was a return of kind of a rivalry game. I know, Jackson, you said you've been looking forward to it for a long time.
Yeah.
It just feels like Texas, they're not the Texas that they were last year or the year before, where they're just blowing these non-superior teams out. They're keeping it a whole lot closer. I mean, Texas has more talent than Arkansas. Let's not kid ourselves. But 1 year ago, this game would have been over probably by halftime. But it just shows the parity we have this year.
Yeah. And I'm curious about the hot seat status of Sam Pittman because it's like some people just want him gone. Some people want him they want him to stay on. Oh, what is that on in the background?
Oh, that's the TV. I'm sorry. I'll turn it off.
It's you're good, man. I just got curious what was on, but anyway, Sam Pittman's state. Is he still on that hot seat? Is he gonna get fired? Is he gonna retire? what is going on in Fayetteville, Arkansas? I mean, they got to beat Louisiana Tech, of course, which, I mean, they should, right? And they got Missouri afterwards. So, what is going to be happening in Fayetteville with Sam Pittman?
Who's going to be the next Arkansas failed coach? Because that's what Arkansas goes through. They just go through coaches like crazy.
Ooh. Oh,
I'll
man.
say this. I think Sam Pittman will be safe for next year because they won against Tennessee. And I feel like as long as Arkansas makes a bowl game, Sam Pittman, I think, will get a vote of confidence for at least one more year. But they got to win the bowl game at least. Make a bowl and win it. And I think all bets are off after 2025, though. I think he's safe for at least another year, especially since they beat Tennessee.
Well, you know, and we see some news from somebody named Jackson Collier from Rivals for Arkansas, where he says, barring a collapse against Louisiana Tech or retirement, I foresee Sam Pittman on the sideline for Arkansas next year. So it's looking like, you know, there's some conditions that could be preventing Pittman from being Arkansas's head coach from beyond this season. So we don't know what's going to be happening. So it is. I mean, that, as he said, they have to lose against Louisiana Tech for that to even be part of the conversation.
No, I agree. Yeah. I think the Tennessee win really saved his job. I think once he won that, think it was like, yep, Sam Pittman, you're safe, you're cured, welcome back.
I don't know much about Arkansas to really even give you anything. I mean, I know they've had some years where they've been really good, but they've had some really down years too. So they're just an up and down team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, they should have beat Oklahoma State, Dave, if I'm being completely honest with you, but they let that game get away. You know,
that's a horrible loss now.
Mm.
That's an embarrassingly horrible loss.
Yeah. There's a couple games I think if Arkansas had a do-over, they would do them over, especially that Oklahoma State game, considering how much they've regressed. From being everyone's darling in the Big 12 to now the bottom of the heap in the Big 12.
Oh, yeah.
Oof. Yeah, and being the bottom of the heap and probably the fourth worst conference.
Yikes.
Yeah. But
how about Penn State, Purdue? Did you catch a little bit of that, Dave?
Knew what was going to happen even before it happened. So I watched just a couple plays here and there. I watched the highlights. But yeah, it was pretty much all Penn State. I tuned in and out of that game, but I knew Penn State was going to take Purdue to the wood chipper.
Mm. Yeah. Like in Fargo.
Yeah, Penn State, you want a cookie for beating Purdue? Now shoot. No one wants to talk about you anyway. Shoot. Well, you beat Purdue, they're a dung heap.
Well, we're thinking about like the rest of their schedule. They got Minnesota next week, and they got Maryland the week after. And you know, they win those two games, they're in the playoffs. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
That's a guarantee. Yeah, that's a guarantee. But you know, you know what? We can end it all next week. That's possible. This will be the toughest of the two games by far. I mean, I don't really see much with Maryland. Rutgers is finally looking like the Rutgers that we kind of thought we would have this year. So
Oh yeah.
But we'll get to that. We'll get to that game.
I'll say this about Penn State. You did what you were supposed to. You didn't have a letdown. You know, that's good. That's good you didn't have any letdowns. Your path is straight and narrow. Beat Minnesota and beat Maryland. You've pretty much got a spot in the playoffs waiting on you. I think even with 2 losses, they could probably still sneak in. If they lose to Minnesota, the committee might give that a pass because Minnesota is a bowl team. Because the way the playoffs are shook out, anything could still happen.
I just feel the later the loss, the more it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned the later the loss, the worse it is, but the earlier the loss, the better. Because I mean, we're looking at Notre Dame, and they beat Virginia nicely, 35-14, shut them out in the first half. And Notre Dame has gotten better since that loss to Northern Illinois. It was like a kick in the rear for them, and it was like a reality check.
Pardon the pun, but it woke up the echoes.
True. It did. It did at that. So next week they got Army. The week after they got USC. And this may be too early of a question to ask, but could we see Marcus Freeman be that coach that gets Notre Dame a playoff win?
That's yeah. That I don't.
The groans signify a no.
Yeah, I feel personally that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Dave.
Oh,
go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
I feel personally that their strength of schedule was weak for Notre Dame standards.
Yeah. And I feel like once Notre Dame runs up on like a Alabama, a Ole Miss, they run up someone on their level, Texas, Penn State, I feel like the real Notre Dame's going to come right back out. It's going to get ugly.
Oh, yeah. We know someone on The Voice College Football that's going to have a little victory lap if Notre Dame loses to like Ole Miss, and it's not going to be the Ole Miss people on The Voice of College Football.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Will Andy will.
Well,
yeah.
Well, yeah, but somebody else who like really loves the SEC.
Oh, Drill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's gonna have a lot of fun.
Oh,
yeah.
Drill probably thinks Notre Dame is still a Big Ten team or something.
Well, as a matter of fact, he was talking tonight, and he doesn't like the idea of Notre Dame being in the playoff race because of their loss to Northern Illinois alone. And I know I had Carter Bryant on a Jacksonian episode from Power Hour SEC, Power Hour LSU, Power Hour NFL, and he didn't like the idea of Notre Dame still being in the playoff race either. How are you feeling about it, Dave?
I think I've always said this: a one-loss Notre Dame team should always make the playoffs. They're good enough to at least be in the playoffs. I don't care that they lost to Northern Illinois. I think they should be in the playoffs, but they cannot lose anymore.
I don't disagree with you, Dave, but I feel like that loss to Northern Illinois, that's got to be one of the worst losses all year. And I know we'll get to Louisville here in a minute, and I have no room to talk now. Thanks. But losing to a MAC school like that, for me, that just is like, I get people say they lost to them at the beginning of the year, second game of the year. We can let that slide. But if you do you not think there should be? I understand it's one loss. It shouldn't be against your record the whole year, but I still think you have to punish them for some of that. You can't just say, okay, well, we're just gonna act like that didn't happen.
Well, I basically think their punishment will be that they don't get a home game in South Bend. I really do believe that they should be in if they beat Army, which would be their toughest game of the year. And I never thought I would say the Army would be the toughest game of the year for Notre Dame. And then USC is, the Trojans, if they're going to go, try to be bowl eligible, they have to get a win against. It's going to be a very good game against Notre Dame and USC. So I just feel if Notre Dame wins out, that they'll be in because I'm sorry, name is bigger than their record right now, and the committee is going to look at it. The money is bigger with putting Notre Dame in the college football playoffs.
I can see that, and I can see your point of view where they'll put them in, but they'll be like, Notre Dame, you got to go to Texas or go to Alabama or go to Penn State. You don't get a home playoff game. I could see him taking that angle. I could see where it comes from, Dave. I could see it.
Well, Austin, we were talking a little bit about victory laps. Here's your victory lap, good buddy.
Yes. Colorado. Yes. Thank you.
Talk about it. Talk about it.
Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Now we can finally put to bed that Coach Prime cannot coach at a Power 5 level. Thank you. We can put it to bed.
Prime time.
People have prime time, yes. Made my grandmother very happy today. She was ecstatic once they made a bowl eligibility, but she's really happy now because they're getting a chance to play for a Big 12 title. She's like stoked. Like she can't even believe that they're even going to be in the conversation to play for a Big 12 title. I'll say this, and Dave, you've probably watched a lot of my stuff with Jeffrey and Jackson. I've been Deion's biggest defender from day one. I've been on the train when they were bad, and people are like you're crazy. Deion is not that good. He's got 2 players. That's it. But he's now got a full year under his belt, and look what he has done. Now that he finally has assembled his defense, he's finally put players around his offense, and they finally have a running game. Who would have thought, Dave, a running game would help an offense?
I wish Minnesota had a running game right now. Never thought I'd be saying that.
Yeah, that's your all's bread and butter, too. Minnesota's built on the run game. So that says more about, I guess, I don't know, your play calling. But it's just very satisfying to see Colorado do so well and all the noise just be put to bed. I don't hear anybody saying Colorado this, Colorado that. It's all kind of hush now. All the Deion hate is kind of almost gone away. Like, he put it to rest.
I just feel that with Deion, let's just go back to the first year when they won those 4 straight games, and every time they won, they rushed the field, and it was getting to the point where this is annoying now, and then everybody was on their bandwagon for that after those 4 games, and then they started losing, and then it was like, oh yeah, great. Colorado's back to being Colorado. Deion hasn't changed anything, but good for him this year. I will say this: good for him this year because he needed to prove, like you said, he needed to prove it this year. I don't know how long he's going to be at Colorado. I think this might be his last year. Like I said, once his kids are gone, I think he's gone.
They were asking that today on Big Noon Kickoff. And he straight up told him, he was like, I plan to be here 10, 15 years. Now, I don't know how much of that, if he's, like you said, like if he's just trying to be coach speak and try not to give away any tells, or if he actually means that. I don't know. Like, personally, I know a lot of people have said once Shador leaves this year, he's gone. Now, I don't know if Shiloh, his other son that plays corner for the team, I don't know how many years of eligibility he has left. But a lot of people are thinking once Shador leaves, he's going to leave. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, like I said, he might pull like a Lou Holtz, what Lou Holtz did to the Gophers. You know, say I'm staying, and then I'm off to Notre Dame.
Yeah. Well, Leaky Riley did that a couple of years ago with Oklahoma. Remember when the reporters kept asking him, "I'm not going to the SEC. I'm not going to any of these SEC teams," and then he turns out for USC. So I'm not going to rule anything out. I hope he stays at Colorado. I hope this is a long-term thing, because Colorado being relevant is great for the sport. Let's be honest about it. Like, Dave, you probably even admit Colorado being good is great for the sport, is it not?
Oh, it totally is. I mean, look where they were at. I mean, they were a doormat. They were worse than they were worse than like Purdue is this year. I mean, that's how bad it was.
And Clint Moses has a question. Does watered down Big 12 still count as a power conference? Resume 0 ranked wins versus P4. See, and before either you or Jackson go, Dave, I'll say this. The Big 12 has always been kind of this way. Like, anybody that's watched the Big 12 always beats up on one another. Like, even dating back to the Texas-Oklahoma years. Go ahead, Dave.
The Big 12 is the Big 12. It's, to be honest with you, it just doesn't feel the same without Oklahoma and Texas in it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the thing, too. I mean, look at 2022 when TCU went on their magical carpet ride. That's the epitome of the Big 12 right there. TCU, I think, was projected to finish, 9th that year? And they went all the way to the title game and lost to Kansas State and then won a playoff game. It just goes to show you what the Big 12 is. You don't know what team's going to be good in that conference. Like I said Wednesday, I had Utah and Iowa State for the Big 12 title. I was wrong on both. Iowa State could still make it, but I was wrong on the Utah pick. So, just goes to show. But this next game here, Dave, I don't know how much of this you watch. Clemson at Pittsburgh.
I watched the whole fourth quarter. It was great.
It was, but there's one thing that I don't want to take anything away from Clemson, but that officiating, oh my goodness, Dave.
Oh, God, that was
Did you
awful.
see that?
That was the worst targeting call ever. That was nowhere near targeting. That Clemson player should never have been kicked out of the game. That was nowhere near targeting. That guy hit him. He hit the quarterback it right in the chest, helmet right in the chest. And they said that was targeting. And I'm like, that was nowhere near his neck or head area. Nowhere near. It was just a whiplash. And they reviewed it and still called it targeting.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't the only bad play ref calling that in that game. The one where Pitt's guy got hit in the face, it took him 5 minutes to throw a flag for that.
Yeah, that was shoot. Where was the Vikings 5 minutes on that one in the Rams game?
Yeah. Like, literally, even the commentators were yelling, and they were even saying, that is an obvious hit to the head and neck area. Why aren't you throwing the flag? And then when Matt Austin came in, the rules analyst, And one of the commentators was like, with all due respect, why didn't they call that sooner? That's very blatant. You could see it. Like, we could see it
Yeah.
up here all the way in the booth. And he was like, you got to give the officials the benefit of the doubt. You know, they're on the field. And he was like, I forget who the commentator's name was, but he was like, you could blatantly see his head snap back from almost getting clotheslined.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Sean McDonough and Greg
don't get-
McElroy.
Yeah, I believe it was Sean McDonough. Thank you, Jackson. Your favorite guy. Cool. There you go. There's your impression. But yeah, even they were like, that needed to be called 5 minutes sooner instead of the officials just sitting there being like, oh, well, y'all want us to call this now? Okay, let me get the flag out here.
Like I said, I never seen that. And then like there was that roughing the passer call on the pit guy that was nowhere close to roughing the passer.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I think officiating in all conferences this year has been bad across the board. Like, I know refs are bad a lot of times, but this year seems like they're exceptionally bad.
Yeah, the one thing I'm always going to say for the referees, there's less and less now, especially in youth sports. It most of the time when you have to remember when kids are doing umpiring or officiating a sport, it's basically they're getting paid like I used to get paid $13 a game when I was 13. I think it was 14 years old when I did Little League baseball umpiring, and just being yelled at constantly by just parents and coaches just over close calls was just so annoying to the point where I stopped doing it at 19 after high school, and because I just didn't want to deal with parents anymore. I had to break up a fight between the commissioner and a coach one time in a Little League in-house baseball game.
God.
You know, it's a joke. And I can understand why there's less and less kids doing this.
And I get it. Sometimes it's hard to see things on the field. I will agree with Matt Austin on that point. Sometimes it's hard. But that's something that's so blatant and obvious. When you see a human neck snap back like that, there's a pretty good chance that was a face mask or a targeting. Like, it didn't take an Einstein not to figure that one out.
Legal hands to the face is another call they could have had on that.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, too. And here's the thing. I get you can't have it both ways, right? A lot of people say, well, you can't complain about the officials getting involved because you don't want them to decide the game, but then you can do when they don't. There's got to be a happy medium in here somewhere where we could get the calls right, but it also doesn't affect the kids and their careers and the outcome of a game. Because here's the thing: what if one of that last throw that the quarterback for Pitt made? What if they call that pass interference? Because you could clearly see a jersey tuck pull, but they didn't call it. They let it go because they were like, "We're done with this." Like, that's my thing. They need to get this cleaned up.
Yeah. Let's also talk about though. Let's not forget that quarterback run was the best quarterback run I've seen in a long time to win a football game.
I tell you what, for as much as I give Cade Klubnik flack, he's a big game baller.
Oh,
when
yeah.
Clemson needed it, he stepped up and won.
That was a
won in that game. Go ahead, Jackson.
Right. That was a clutch touchdown right there. It was clutch.
And see, here's my thing. Now, I have a family member who's got the inside X's and O's, and we were watching the game together, and He even told me, he was like, why is Pitt blitzing? That he's like, you do not blitz a running quarterback, especially when you know that it's like he was even telling me like third or fourth down, you get it, but on first down, you do not do that because that's how you get beat. And what happened? Pitt blitzed and K. Klubnik took off on him, and immediately, my family member was like, "I told you, you do not blitz in that situation." He even called it before the play even started. He was like, "They're going to blitz, and he's going to get out this way and go all the way." And it happened. I was like, "Holy crap!"
Yeah.
He's like, "I told you don't blitz on first down. That's a no-no."
Got out of the pocket, ran, deked that safety, and just went right into the end zone.
That's the thing too. And I get Pitt, like, they're blitz heavy. I've noticed that. I watched a couple of their games this year. They like to blitz a lot. That's fine. But in any game situations like this, play softer shell coverage. Like, and maybe send an exotic blitz on like a fourth down. Like that way, if it blows up, at least it's fourth down and you have an excuse. But on first down, yeah.
Yeah, it was just not good.
Here's the thing, too. I will say this, and Jackson, Dave, you may disagree with me, but Pitt has been one of them teams that a lot of people have said we need to put on fraud watch.
Ooh.
Do y'all think Pitt was proving those doubters right today, or do you think Pitt?
Unfortunately, they were
What do you think?
proven right when they lost to Virginia.
Yeah, they were proven right a long time ago. I think Pitt was, Pitt was going to be Pitt this year. I thought they were going to be an 8-win team. I didn't think they were that good.
Be honest with you, Dave, and I had Pitt going 9-3 because
I could see that.
I thought I had them losing to Clemson, Louisville, and I thought they would lose to West Virginia.
I will say this. I watched that game, and there's another team like Miami that needs to go back to on-campus football.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of which, what does that do for the ACC title race? Because, Clemson is now 7-1 in conference play. It really doesn't make a difference what Clemson does in their non-conference games because really it's all about conference play.
So the scenario is, Jackson, Miami's got to lose one more time for Clemson to get it. Because if Miami and Clemson end up tied at the end of the year, Miami would get it because they beat Louisville. Because it would go to your common opponent. Since they did not play one another in the ACC, it's the common opponent. And since we beat Clemson, that eliminates them. So Clemson's got to hope Wake Forest or Syracuse can pull off an upset, which unfortunately I don't think it's going to happen with Wake.
That's not happening. Maybe Syracuse might be able to do it, but definitely not Wake.
So basically, Clemson's all their eggs are in the Syracuse basket. So good luck, Clemson.
Oh yeah.
Let's not forget about SMU. Let's not forget about SMU.
Oh yeah. SMU, all they really got to do is be unbeaten, or better yet, they just beat Virginia and they're in next week. Which we will get to. Boston College, SMU, the Fenway Park Bowl rematch. How about that? SMU in their first year of the ACC getting closer and closer to the ACC title game, and they're not even getting paid that much.
Yeah, I'll say this. For all those doubters out there that said SMU wouldn't last in the Power Conference, they're making you eat your words right about now. And I know people will say, and I don't know, I can't speak for any of you all, but a lot of people will say, "Oh, it's the ACC. Anybody could last in the ACC." It's still a power conference. You still have to respect it somewhat.
It's better than the Big 12 by far.
Yep.
Oh, you're the first one I've heard say that, Dave. A lot of people think the Big 12 is better than the ACC.
No. The ACC is a way better football conference this year than it has been in the past. Normally it's a basketball conference, but this year is football definitely stepped up. And North Carolina ended up, now being bowl eligible, so my Gophers don't, feel so bad losing to them.
And Clint Moses agrees. He thinks the ACC is better than the Big 12 too. A lot of people have been saying the Big 12 is the cream of the crop in terms of the best conference play, like in terms of like more competitive conference. Like I've heard that from some people in terms of competitiveness.
Let's just say this. If Iowa State, Arizona State, who else? Kansas State and BYU were in the Big Ten or the ACC or the SEC, they'll at least be 6-6 at best.
I think Kansas State would have a pretty good shot. Kansas State might have a pretty good shot of thriving in the Big Ten. I think because Chris Kleiman's a really good coach, but
they got hammered by Arizona State today at home.
Yeah, that was bad. But yeah, go ahead, Joe Johnson. Go ahead. I see you got something to say. Go for
it. Well, got ourselves a wild ride in the ACC, and again, Clemson's going to need some magic to happen. They are going to need SMU to lose to Virginia and Cal. But what do I always say, Austin?
Never put yourself in a position you need someone to lose or win for you. You just don't do that.
Exactly. Don't ever put yourself in that kind of position. And matter of fact, it's friend of the voice of college football, Bill Bender at Sporting News, writing up the article for the ACC standings and the tiebreakers. So how about that? Nice. Boise State had a great win against San Jose State. Can they be that group of 5 team that gets that playoff spot? Could we see that? Could we see Ashton Genty win the Heisman? Please tell me he wins the Heisman.
Here's the thing, Jackson. The Heisman, I think, is a 2-horse race. It's him and Travis Hunter, and then whoever the committee wants to put there. And people will say Dylan Gabriel or Milroe. It's either Genty or Hunter. This is probably the first time we've had a 2-horse race in a long time.
Okay.
Well, what do you think, Dave?
I wouldn't be surprised if Colorado State beats Boise State. I think Colorado State has a better defense. Well, for the other Mount West schools. I think San Jose had a couple of, if you really look at it, San Jose, if they went for it on that 4th down play and they didn't get it because they did this stupid play to their they made the offensive lineman eligible receiver on like an out pattern or on a slant pattern. I'm sorry, not an out pattern, slant pattern. And he basically catches the ball and has like 3 guys unblocked, just take him right down. And that ended it. And that was pretty much the momentum for enough for Boise State, because Boise State was down 14 to nothing for the first half. And then they turned it up. They remembered that they were Boise State.
Mm-hmm. Well, David, speaking of the game that you were talking about, Arizona State with a big win over Kansas State.
Yeah,
Hey,
Arizona State. I didn't see any of this game, so I can't really comment on it too much.
Jackson, I know you saw it, so what do you think?
I think it's pretty huge for Arizona State because think about it for a sec. They were picked to finish last in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Dillingham is doing a tremendous job. And I got one question for you, gents. Could we see him as a coaching candidate?
I think Arizona State will try to keep him. Arizona State does have money.
Yeah.
I feel like that's his alma mater. It's going to be really hard to rip him away. Like, he would have to do something really bad, I think, for him to get ripped away. I think he really likes it there. I think since it's his alma mater. Go ahead, Blake. Go ahead.
We saw it with Jonathan Smith last year. Not saying he's Jonathan Smith, but I'm just saying if the right opportunity calls him, it could happen.
Is he Jonathan Smith or is he Pat Fitzgerald?
Good point.
I think the thing that separates him from those two is he comes from the Dan Lanning coaching tree. And you see how loyal Dan Lanning is, right? Like, he's got jobs coming left and right, and he's like, nope, I'm building something special here at Oregon. I'm staying. Like, NFL jobs, people think he's going to take an NFL job. They're like, oh, the Cowboys might come calling. No, he wants to stay in college with Oregon. He wants to win them a title.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
But I gotta say this. I'm really happy for Arizona State fans, though, that they're finally getting back to their glory days when it was Jaden Daniels and Brandon Ayuk was flying around on the field in offense. I'm really happy for them. They've earned this. They've had a lot of bad happen to them. It's good to see them succeed. And as Kansas State, Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
Go
ahead. Kansas State is out of the conference title conversation. You were saying, Austin?
I was just going to say, Kansas State, what the heck happened here? I mean, go for it, guys. Go for it. I'm lost for words for them.
What you guys say about it, Dave?
Well, I mean, it's nice to see Arizona State have a really good year. They haven't had a year like this since probably 1995, 96 when they had Jake the Snake as a quarterback.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, man. Seeing Arizona State doing very well. And Austin, I saw our friend Bill Bender writing an article about the Big 12's path to the conference title game, and there's a tiebreaker. What do you know? Coming out of nowhere. If Arizona State wins against BYU, they can get in the Big 12 title game possibly. And all they'd have to do is make life a living hell for Arizona after that. And they're really good to go. I mean, talking about going from worst to first, it could happen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the beginning of the year, I thought Arizona was going to take this, and Arizona's definitely proved me wrong.
Guys, think of the irony. Think of this. If Colorado wins out, they're in, right? Destiny's in their hands. Arizona State beats BYU, they're in. Where did those two teams come from? The Pac-12. Think about that.
Yeah.
The two teams that were in the Pac-12 are the two teams that are going to play for another conference that they're not even originally from.
Yeah. SMU having a great year. They're not originally ACC. God, it's so weird to say that.
Oh yeah. I'm glad we're talking about BYU because they got upset by Kansas, and bowl hopes are still alive for the Kansas Jayhawks.
I expected
Here's
a
the
lot
thing,
more.
Jackson, I would not be too upset if you go on a venting session about Kansas. Because, Dave, if you did not know, Kansas was Jackson's darling. I'm sure you do because you watch everything. That was his
They've
darling.
been my feel
And
bad
you
team.
saw and you seen how distraught he got when they lost to Arizona State. He was like, "Dadgummit, Kansas."
Yeah, it was amazing to watch Kansas just go on a huge losing streak for like the beginning of the year, now finally turning around. But this was a Kansas team that I think a lot of people thought were, at least the bottom half of the top 25, and very much improved, and maybe even a chance to make the college football playoffs, being that they were in the Big 12 too. Wow, they are nowhere close. They're back to being Kansas that we all knew. But, good for them for beating BYU today. They actually showed up.
Mm-hmm. They beat Iowa State last week, and I told Jackson, I said, Kansas wants to play football now. And I made a joke with Jackson. I was like, where was this to begin with? Like, this whole time, they've been holding out on us. And because Kansas held out on us, Jackson's Big 12 pick went up in smoke faster than mine did.
Yep.
Yeah, all our Big 12 picks went up in smoke. Like I said, I picked Arizona to win it.
Oh gosh, you're in the same boat as us, Dave. Join the boat. Come on, get in. We'll roll.
Yeah.
We'll roll the boat. We'll roll the boat. You know a lot about rolling the boat, Dave. You're a Minnesota guy. You know what it's like.
Oh yeah, I know. This was more of the road the boat of misery with our picks.
And B Bean says you should have picked Prime. I wanted to. I did. In all seriousness, I did. But Jackson talked me off the ledge. So I was going to pick Colorado to win the Big 12. That's how confident I was. But Jackson talked me off the ledge.
Well, like I said, this was a conference that you could have picked anybody. It was like a dartboard conference. Other than maybe just a small handful of teams, you could have picked almost anybody to win this conference. Heck, you could probably put Oklahoma State at the beginning of the year and think that they could have won it. But this is how equal this conference was. But a lot of these teams are mid or crap at best, and that's why I kind of look at it.
Clint Moses says KU was the most unluckiest team. I would agree with that. I mean, they had a lot of things that didn't go their way in the beginning. Like the UNLV game, they had like 2 turnovers that were inexcusable. And then, of course, the missed field goal. What game was it? Oh, they had a missed field goal that cost them a 10-point lead. They've got the opposite end of the breaks this year.
But Iowa State is still in it. They are still in it. They need magic to happen, though.
Yeah, they need a lot of things to happen to get them right back in it. But man, I mean, I know a lot of people that are very excited up here in Minnesota about Iowa State, because that's a big time school for a lot of Iowa State alums going to Minneapolis because there's like compared to around Ames or Des Moines, there's a lot more jobs here in Minneapolis than there are, in the whole entire upper Midwest. So you get a lot of Iowa State fans or Iowa alums here. I also think they're a part of the reciprocity thing up here too, where Iowa State, Northern Iowa, Wisconsin schools, North Dakota and South Dakota schools, and Minnesota schools all have like a rule that basically you pay in-state tuition even though you're technically out of state.
But yeah, Jackson, you dropped a little factoid on me. Iowa State is still alive, not only for the Big 12 title race, but they can also still have a 10-win season.
Uh-huh.
Now, do they get it? I don't know.
I will say though, I'm sure Iowa State is going to be pulling for Arizona State next week to beat BYU, and they're definitely going to be pulling for Kansas to make some magic against Colorado next week. And they got to beat Utah, of course. They have to beat Utah by a bigger margin than BYU, Colorado, and Arizona State combined. So if they have like a 31-point win over Utah, that would be huge for the Cyclones.
Yes. And see, Jackson, this is what people were afraid of about the new playoff system, right? Well, a lot of the old people were like saying we need to stay at 4 because of the Big 12, right? Because the Big 12 beats each other up. Like, that's why people are against the 12 team, because an 8-4 Big 12 champion is going to get one of the byes, whether we like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why Notre Dame fans, why they gripe a lot. It's not because they won't join a conference, it's because the Big 12 exists. Because West Virginia could essentially go 8-4 one year and get the bye. Like that's the thing that upsets a lot of people. Like, if you're 8-4, 9-3, you should not be considered for a playoff.
Yeah.
Well, rules are rules, so we have to live with it now.
I'm okay with it, but a lot of people said that's unfair to the teams that actually try to win. Not that the Big 12's not, but.
Speaking of, Baylor has clinched bowl eligibility. And Dave Aranda gets to keep his job for 2025, which, let's be honest, you didn't need a report to say that, oh, Dave Aranda staying. I mean, that winning streak helped. As for Neil Brown at West Virginia, Black Sunday is coming. It could be Black Monday. It could be Black Sunday. It's not a matter of if, but when. He is getting fired at any moment, the way I see it. Gentlemen, am I right? Am I wrong? Is it meh? What do you think?
I'm feeling
I'll let
meh.
Dave go first, though.
Meh.
No.
I'm kind of like Dave, man. I'm leaning more towards now, like you said, Jackson. This might be the end. This might be the end. What do you think, Jackson? Where are you at on it?
It was the final nail in the coffin for the Neil Brown era.
Yeah. Question is, though, Jackson, was still one of your questions. Who do you think they'll get to replace him?
It could be Andy Kotelnicki from Penn State. It could be Jamie Chadwell from Liberty. If that were me, I'd want to get Fran Brown from Syracuse, but that's just me.
What do you think, Dave? Who do you think could be the replacement for West
You
Virginia.
want to get somebody that can recruit in the area, and I do like the idea of, like I said, with Jackson, with getting the guy from Syracuse. It's all about the area, that whole entire Atlantic coast area, North Atlantic coast for like the New York and all that. You might want to get someone from there to come to get some kids to go to West Virginia.
Oh yeah.
That's true. Yeah. I mean,
Maybe Barry Odom could get the job done. Maybe it could be Kyle Flood from Texas. Who knows?
yeah,
Yeah, it
Jason O's
really.
not feeling. Not to cut you off, Dave, but Jason O's not feeling the Fran Brown.
Well,
That's okay.
you think maybe he can be a Syracuse coaching legend like Ben Schwartzwalder or Dick McPherson? Like, you think he could pull that off?
What do you think, Dave?
I don't even know who the heck those two guys are.
Those are two. Those are two of the best coaches in Syracuse football history. I mean, Paul Pasqualoni was all right. That's another one. How can I leave him out? To be honest.
Ooh,
All I know about
think?
Syracuse football is Brown used to be the running back.
Jim Brown and Ernie Davis. He was the Heisman Trophy winner for 1961, I believe. And I remember that 1959, Syracuse won it all. They played Texas in the Cotton Bowl.
What do you guys think about this from Keep Chopping? Saying Syracuse to West Virginia is a lateral move at best. Start with you, Jackson. What do you think? Do you agree with Keep Chopping?
Can Syracuse get more excited about football like West Virginia is? That's my question. Because unfortunately, not a lot of people. Not, I know. Well, I mean, McNabb was awesome at Syracuse. Like, I cannot believe I almost forgot about him for a moment. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
I was like, I knew they had someone that was really, really popular. That was a quarterback back in my time. That I
Yep.
started watching. Yeah, he was really good as a quarterback, but well, those weren't all like dominant. Those weren't totally dominant like Syracuse teams either, though. He was like the only like part of that offense that was really good, and I don't think they even had that great of a defense back then.
This is
Yeah.
interesting. Jason O is saying Syracuse is better than West Virginia. Now, I know we don't have to go down the rabbit hole. Now, if our good buddy Joey Foster was here, he would tell you historically West Virginia is a better head coaching job because that if he was here, which I'm not a West Virginia guy or a Syracuse guy, but like, what do you all think? Like, do you all think Syracuse is a better job, or do you think West Virginia is a better job in its current state?
I think if West Virginia can throw some money in, like, because I mean they got a lot of donors, and the Big 12 is an easier conference to win in than in the ACC. I would say for me, West Virginia is the better job, but at the same time, if you want a 9-win season and not for everybody to call for your head, Syracuse is the place to be. I mean, everybody's talking about the
Yeah.
humongous job that Kurt Cinetti's doing at Indiana, but we didn't hear a deadgum thing about Fran Brown doing a terrific job at Syracuse this season. I mean, this is his first season, and there's a reason why 247 Sports named him as the #1 recruiter for 2023. I mean, this guy has been an assistant under Matt Rule, Greg Schiano, and Kirby Smart. Who would not want Frank Brown as their head coach? And he's got some funny quotes at the press conference where he's like, "I have it," which I think they're a little out there where he's saying, I haven't earned the right to shower. Like, you only get that when you win, which I mean, it's like a little out there, but that's pretty cool. I mean, you're bringing some excitement to Syracuse football. I mean, that's not something that Greg Robinson brought. That's not something that you saw uh, Dub Marone bringing or Scott Schaefer. I mean, Dino Babers was all right, but he wasn't. He's not anything compared to Fran Brown. And Fran Brown has been doing a fantastic job in his first year.
Yeah, and a lot of people seem to believe that too. Jackson here in our chat, B Bean says Syracuse. Clint Moses says Syracuse. Jason O says not even close. West Virginia competes against Big Ten recruits. Syracuse has the niche of NYK, New York kids. That's a good point. Like when you look at a head coaching job, I tend to forget this, but you also got to look at recruiting too. And, kind of throw Minnesota in here. When people say, is Minnesota a desirable job? You got to think Minnesota doesn't have very many people to compete against in terms of recruiting. Like, they'll win Minnesota a lot of times, right, Dave? Or am I way off course by saying that?
I would say now they have been. I would say right around Coach Kill really kind of changed that whole entire complexion with the Minnesota recruiting problems. At one point, you were battling against Iowa. You were battling against Iowa State. You were battling against Wisconsin a lot. Heck, I would say there's a suburb we have called Lakeville. And it's literally joked as being called Madison South because a lot of the Wisconsin people, or not Madison South, but Madison West. I'm sorry, Madison West. It's a ton of Wisconsin alums live in this growing suburb of the Twin Cities area, Lakeville, and they literally Minnesota doesn't even try to go there anymore to get kids. It's basically goes always to Wisconsin kids. Heck, the Wisconsin programs go to the both high schools and try to recruit all the time there for basketball and football and hockey.
Dave, I'm so glad you made a perfect segue to Wisconsin, but I'm going to read this comment first. Jason O says, honey, I got a new job. Same or less money, and we got to move. We get to move to Morgantown, West Virginia. Oh, my goodness. I mean, you guys make my Saturday night with some of your comments. Like, oh, my goodness. I wish I was this clever, especially you, Dave. I love your comments when you say, is this the best the Big 12 has to offer? That gets me every time.
Well, we got the Big Ten, but first, let's cover Syracuse winning over California, which California is nice to the homeless.
Yeah, they love the homeless.
Jason,
California,
they love the homeless.
California love. But Jason says Syracuse.
I remember that song from South Park, to tell you the truth.
Yes.
California.
Too sweet to the homeless.
Syracuse is a much more attractive school to recruit to. Those schools recruit the same areas: New York, New Jersey, PA, Maryland. Syracuse should win those battles every time. That's a good point. I will say, I feel like Syracuse and West Virginia, historically as football programs, are about even. But if we're talking basketball, then we're getting in the upper echelon. But good win as for Syracuse, good win, though. Good win. You didn't lose to Cal.
Yeah, Cal. They still have the hippies in the trees.
Oh, no, yeah.
Because they had next to their stadium, they had those big trees, and there was a lot of protesting. They were thinking about cutting it down and putting a research building up there. and all these hippies decided just like to move in, and they have like a hippie commune over. Yeah, this is so Cal right now. This is so Cal. Like the students are just.
Like, only could you get this story on the final whistle. So, if you're enjoying this, oh my goodness, wait till we get to rivalry week. I'm sure someone will pop off of something. I'm sure if Dave comes off rivalry, he'll pop off about Wisconsin or something, about how they eat tofu burgers or something.
Oh, Lord.
Or Jackson will make a comment about Auburn blowing games and having prostitutes in their locker room.
Well, I mean, that's more Hugh Freeze's thing, calling them hookers on the school phone. He likes them. He's probably going to DM them on Instagram or TikTok, posing as a 20-year-old, I'm sure.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, I'm just kidding I'm just kidding about that. But I'm just kind of being an ass.
And I will say this. As a person that had friends that went to Madison, I just hate their sports. I don't hate Madison. I have had so much fun in Madison, especially during Halloween, and getting drunk to the point where I had alcohol poisoning. That was fun.
Oh, Lord.
Now, Dave, you just made a perfect segue. Let's go to Madison, Jackson, because I'm sure Dave probably had to hit the oxygen tank after Wisconsin almost did the unthinkable tonight. So I'll let you start, Dave. You're still here, so you're still with us, but I bet you almost passed out.
Oh, there's a part of me that just wanted Wisconsin to win a little bit, but there was also a part of me that just loved the idea that they didn't. But I was either hoping for a massacre, and I really was just like, I thought this game was going to be like, originally I thought this game was going to be like 35 to like 17, Oregon, and Oregon would, just take them to the wood chipper. But to be honest with you, man, how many times does like Oregon have to make it so close? Every time they got in the red zone, they turned the ball over. Heck, they had a chance to go up by 6, and they go for a fake field goal to make it even more interesting. But I'm going to say this. Wisconsin does not have an offense. They just don't have an offense.
No.
Especially now that their star wide receiver was out for the rest of the games. They just don't have anything after that. Defensive-wise, they're great. But offensive-wise, they're awful.
Here's the thing. And I even said this going into it Wednesday. I said, don't be surprised if this game is anywhere from a 3-point to 7-point game. And a lot of people told me, you're nuts, Austin. Oregon's going to wipe Wisconsin out. This isn't going to be close. Oregon's going to roll into the bye week. And I said, don't sleep on Wisconsin. They gave Penn State a game. If Braden Locke did the pick 6, Penn State might have gone down that night too. But Braden Locke threw the pick 6, and that ended all hopes of that. But Madison, Wisconsin, Camp Randall at night is something serious. Don't ever go in there thinking you're just going to beat them.
No.
And I think Oregon just learned that. I think Oregon learned that the hard way tonight.
Yeah, that was a pretty poor performance by Oregon. I knew the only way I really felt with, like, at the time, I felt the game really changed hands when Oregon was driving down the field, and I think it's their second drive in the game. And they get near, like, I think they was at the 10-yard line or something, and they threw the hit off the guy, and it just went into what's his name, number 3 for defensive player for Wisconsin, right into his hands. And you just kind of felt like you just don't want that to happen in Madison, because then it gives them hope. It's always you have to put the foot to the pedal in Madison, and you're not going to come out with a win. But God dang it, do not make it interesting by doing a fake field goal.
That's the thing too. Go for it, Dave. Go for it.
I was thinking, I'm just thinking, just go for it. Like, get your running back, which is having like a heck of a day if you wanted to do that. Your O-line was pushing them off the ball big time. Wisconsin's D got tired at the end.
I think the part of it too, Dave and Jackson, is that's just Dan Lanning. Like, he's a risk taker. He likes to be tricky. You know, right before the half, we thought they were taking a knee, and he handed it off. Like, Dan Lanning, here's the thing. I'll say this. He is a great head coach. You would be dumb and, not dumb, but not thinking if you were to say he's not a great head coach. I think he's top 5. But the problem with him is sometimes he likes to take way too many risks. I mean, he did it last year against Washington, and it cost him twice. It almost cost him tonight. And here's the thing. The fact that they were able to get away with it with Wisconsin shows you, like, if Dan Lanning does that against Ohio State or does it against Penn State or does it against a team with a competent offense, it might bite him in the butt again. So he better be careful with that. Because it almost lost them the game if Wisconsin knew how to throw the ball properly.
Yeah, I totally agree because Wisconsin just doesn't have the offense. And like I said, losing their star wide receiver just was basically, that was it for them. You knew it.
And Clint Moses says Lanning caught the gambler's itch. And Jason Hill says Dan Lanning better cut the dumb stuff out. He makes some bonehead decisions sometimes. Agreed. Like, and I know Jackson, I know you watch this game. Like, tell me you're in agreement with me and Dave. If you're gonna go for it, let Dylan Gabriel do it.
Yeah, that's what
for a fake field goal.
Mark Rogers and I were talking about tonight when I called in, where we were just like, let Dylan Gabriel go for it. Don't. You're not in NCAA 2024. You're in real life, bro. Like, just.
I'll say this: when they got the stop and they went out to kick the field goal, I was thinking, okay, Oregon's going to go by a touchdown. Wisconsin's got to go down and score. I'm thinking, okay, they're leaving them a little alive. Maybe they'll spring like a big run on the kickoff, or maybe the running back will spring one loose and magic can happen. And then they faked it, and I'm thinking, you know what? If Oregon loses this game, they're going to look at that play and be like, why did we do that? And here's the thing. Once they did that, all they needed was a field goal. You left the door open for them. If Wisconsin could have just put a little bit better competent play calling together, they could have been top of the game. It's like, and my thing is too, like you said, Dave, you can't let Wisconsin think they have a chance. You got to step on them while you got them down. And Oregon just didn't do that tonight. They committed stupid penalties, turned the ball over in the red zone, and that's why this game was ultimately close. And like you said, the defense came ready to play. They were up and at them and ready, and they just didn't step on them when they should have. Hopefully Oregon will learn this isn't the Pac-12. They don't play dead for you. You got to put them down yourself.
Yep.
Because even Purdue, even as crappy as they are, you still got to put them down.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Illinois Illinois got their best home winning record since 2001. That was the year where they went to the Sugar Bowl. and they lost to LSU, of course, with Nick Saban at the helm.
Good job, Illinois. You want a cookie? You beat Michigan State.
Yeah, Michigan State is such a bipolar team. You don't know what Michigan State's going to do.
Well, we gotta give some credit to Illinois for getting close to a 9-win season. I mean, it's not every day that they do. Plus, Burt Beam was doing a great job over there.
At least Minnesota beat them, so I can easily say that Illinois can win all the games, the rest of the way. As long as the Gophers finally got off to stride against them.
Oh, good job, Illinois. You did good, but you beat Michigan State. Here we go, Jackson. Your favorite team, Nebraska.
Another one-score loss. It keeps on going.
Oh, my goodness. USC finally closed the game out. How shocking.
And Nebraska can't close the game out. Very expected. It must have been a day that ends in Y.
Oh, Lord.
Jackson, I feel like I'm watching two kids fight between Nebraska and USC. Like they're arguing over no, this is the right way to do it. No, this is the right way to do it. Like I just feel like they're arguing over how to lose the game. Oh, you want the game? No, you should have it. No, do you want it? No, you can have it. Like that's what I felt like I was watching. Like USC goes out in front big time, and then they're like, "No, this is too. We got to make it more competitive." And then Nebraska's like, "No, here, have it."
Did you see the beginning of this game? They're all hopping back and forth near the 50-yard line, just jumping up and down, getting in each other's faces, and then broke them up all up. And it was like I'm thinking to myself, your programs are nowhere close to even being doing this. Stop it. Just stop it. You're the battle of the once blue bloods. You're nowhere close.
And Nebraska, they're just falling apart. I mean, was that last play a missed call on pass interference, or was it right to not call? What did you think, gentlemen?
I didn't see the last play, so I can't really say anything.
Oh, damn. You missed a good one.
So I'll say this. I want to tee you up, Jackson, because I know you're waiting on a good juicy rant. So I'm going to tee you up for this one. Jackson, is Nebraska ever going to be allowed to go bowling again? What have they done to deserve this?
Oh, my God.
Did they steal somebody's money, or did Matt Rule run over a person on the way to the stadium when he got the job? What have they done?
I don't know. They've got that curse of Scott Frost. It's like, my God. I'm hoping they beat Wisconsin next week, but I'm just not counting on it as history goes on. And the week after that is Iowa. Maybe they can beat Iowa to clinch bowl eligibility. I hope. But we're going to wait and see.
I hope so, too. I hope they beat Wisconsin and Iowa just because I hate both schools. So.
And, I know I'm getting ready to I'm probably going to get Jackson angry here in just a second. And you'll hear, as soon as you hear me say it, you'll know why. But you realize if Matt Rule misses yet another bowl game after starting 5-1, Nebraska fans are going to be saying it's time to fire him. Some of them will. Let's be honest. They're going to be like, we need to get rid of Matt Rule. He can't do it.
This is a 4-year project.
Yeah,
Jackson, try telling that to some Nebraska fans. Try telling them.
Well, then they can be the decision makers, and then they can be the ones that write up coaching lists. I mean, they think it's that easy because it's like, oh, just rant on social media or just rant and rave about, just drink your beer and throw it at the damn floor or something, or spill your little cheese sauce and yell GD at the TV or something like that. It's like, yeah, you're a real big decision maker. Yeah, go out and get your best suit and try to apply to be the AD or whatever. Then come back and tell us how easy this is.
Dude, they fired Bo
Yeah.
Pelini. Bo Pelini used to give them 8-9 win seasons. They would die to have Bo Pelini back right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It just shows you in the state that we are college football guys that it's all about win, win, win now. Why do you think PJ Fleck has been the talk of the town this entire year? Because people in Minnesota are like, we need wins now. Prompto.
Yeah. We need wins, and we don't need stupid losses to Rutgers. Every year he loses to one. He always loses to one stupid game that makes you wonder how the hell do you lose to this team? And this year it was Rutgers.
Exactly.
Well, I'll say Rutgers is a lot better football
Purdue.
team. Yeah, and oh god, please don't lose to Purdue.
And
next year it'll be Purdue.
Oh my god, they've just
Purdue like 42-7.
USC's just been falling apart this season. I mean, yeah, they got a big win against Nebraska, a much needed win at that, but can they get the bowl eligibility by beating either UCLA or Notre Dame?
I would say
so. Here's the. Go ahead, Dave.
Oh, I'm sorry. I would say that it's. I think, man, that UCLA game is going to be really interesting because that's bragging rights big time in that area. That's one of the biggest rivalries probably in college football. So I think if they beat UCLA, yes, they're going bowling. If they don't, they're not going bowling because I don't think they're going to beat Notre Dame, even though how good of a rivalry that game is.
Clint Moses brings up a fantastic point, and Jackson, Dave, I want you to sound off on this. Rule can retain players; he keeps his job. Players hit the portal; you got no choice but to fire him. What do y'all think about that? So let's say Dylan Rayola is like, I don't want to be in a 5-7 situation every year. I'm going to hit the portal and see what's out there, and all these other players follow. Does that mean
if you fire a coach after 2 years, you better hope you can find somebody really better?
Yeah, that's the reason why I don't think Minnesota will ever fire PJ right now, at least. I don't think there's anyone good enough right now that would be interested in the Minnesota job. And then I believe that, if you're going to fire PJ, you better hire someone that's at PJ's level or better.
Yeah.
He says player empowerment. Huh? That's a good point. I don't think they would do that to Matt Rule because the way Justin Adams talks about Matt Rule, all the players do really like him. But if you're in a losing situation, a lot of players would be like, I'm out. They don't want to stick it out.
Yeah.
So.
Well, somebody that should really be on the hot seat is Mike Lotzley at Maryland.
They're not going to.
He's another one. That's another one, Jackson. It's Minnesota, Nebraska 2.0. If you're going to fire him, who are you going to get better?
Yeah, and Maryland is just not that big of a program that people are that interested in. I think they're even worse than like you said, they're worse than probably where Minnesota is at, and should probably even worse where Rutgers is at right now. The Rutgers drop sounds a heck of a lot better than Maryland. Heck, the UCLA job would be a heck of a lot better than Maryland. Anything's better than Maryland.
Yeah.
I'll say this, and Jackson, you've even said this yourself. You go 8-4 at Maryland, they're happy with you. They're gonna build a statue. Like
You
go
go
8-4, win your
6-6,
bowl
they're
game, they're
happy.
happy.
Yeah,
I
just go
doubt it.
6 and
That's true.
6. It's just a basketball school, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
It staked its claim. That's what it is. It's a basketball school, and they'll stay a basketball school. That's all they care about. Football is just basically, we can recruit some of those kids from we'll recruit some wide receivers that are really good and hope for the best.
It's their favorite pastime.
Yeah,
They're just like, Maryland football's on. Let's hope they do good today. It's while they wait for basketball season. Basically what
Yep.
it is.
I mean, maybe they can get Mike Denbrock from Notre Dame. Or maybe Glenn Schumann from Georgia.
Yeah, Jackson, now you're stretching it. I could see maybe Denbrock, but Schumann leave Georgia for Maryland? That's like asking someone to leave a mansion and go to a trailer park.
Oh, there's always going to be somebody that's up for the challenge, So I wouldn't put past some people.
God bless them, whoever takes it. If Mike
Oh,
Loxley
yeah.
is going to be gone, God bless him. Godspeed.
I mean, Fran Brown left Georgia for Syracuse because he wanted to be a head coach. I mean, there's always somebody that wants to be a head coach. And they're definitely...
This is true.
And for me, any choice better than Mike Loxley. Like, the only reason why he even got hired to any place as a head coach was because of his ties to Nick Saban. The fact that Saban revitalized his career while he was an assistant coach, that it automatically helps. Like, if you associate with Nick Saban, it helps you. It pretty much does. Now, take out the fact they did work with Nick Saban. Well, that too, that he's from Maryland. He was an assistant coach there. But the fact remains was he was a disaster at New Mexico. And I know everybody's a disaster there, but he was falling apart there. He was 3-33. That's bad. Only 3 wins there. But unfortunately, we got to cover the rest of the ACC. And what happened with Louisville today? They got screwed over by the refs, I noticed.
That was questionable. It was, but still, it was the longest 1 second of college football that we have ever seen. It's just 4 seconds left. They threw a ball in the end zone, try to go for the win right then and there, and then, I just watched the last couple seconds of this game, and that was the best part about the whole game. But he pushed the kid when he was out of bounds. But you got to keep your hands off of the kid. You got to know better. It was stupid of him to push him. I'm sorry. Right in front of the ref, that was going to get called all day.
I'm just like, I have no words. Like, I've even dreaded talking about this today. I'm literally at the point, Jackson, where I just got no words. I just have no words. So take it away.
Yeah, this just feels like Charlie Brown trying to get that football all over again. I hate it.
Well,
at least.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you go right ahead.
Go ahead.
All right.
I was just going to say, well, at least. Oh, go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say, at least nobody saw the game because no one was there, because no one goes to Stanford games.
Yes, that is a right side, yes.
Andrew Luck went there, I'm sure, but that's it.
And Christian McCaffrey, but
there's a happier note. Fran Brown and Syracuse. How about them?
I thought we already talked about Syracuse.
Yeah, we already talked about
West
this
Virginia.
game.
We didn't.
Yeah.
I don't think we talked about Syracuse Cal, did we?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Oh, we did. My bad.
We did.
Lake Forest, North
See, that's how
Carolina.
we got.
Hampton.
I mean, it's good for North Carolina that they won. Makes Dave, I guess. I'm sure Dave's feeling pretty good now. At least PJ Fleck didn't lose to a non-bowl team. At least that's not going to be on their resume.
Yeah, but it's Wake Forest is bad.
New Mexico upset Washington State. I mean, New Mexico State's getting close to bowl eligibility, and Bronco Mendenhall's doing a tremendous turnaround job over there in Albuquerque.
Can I just say one thing? Let me just say one thing. How old were you guys back in 2003?
Oh, I was 5, 6 years old.
I was only a year old.
That was the last time New Mexico State won against a ranked team.
Yikes.
Washington State. Jackson, I thought they were for real, too. I was starting to buy their hype. Maybe they could sneak into one of the really good bowl games, and then they blow it to a dung heap team.
Their schedule's really bad, and they can't really brag about beating Washington or Texas Tech. It's not really anything to brag about.
That's true.
You think I'm the danger? I'm in danger. I am the danger. I am the one that knocks.
There you go, Walter Roy. All right.
Oh, goodness. Washington State, you cooped it up again.
Yep. But at least it wasn't on the CW.
Oh, gosh.
That's hilarious.
What
was on the CW? Was there any games on the CW?
Yeah, Syracuse Cal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, game only befitting. Only befitting.
But how about Missouri, South Carolina? Missouri's officially out of title contention for the SEC.
This was an awesome game. Awesome ending to a game. When you thought that Missouri was going to win this game, they just got their hearts ripped out. It was a great game. And let's face it, Missouri's also the most overrated SEC team, too. And they proved it today.
I'll say this. Shane Beamer, I think, saved his job for at least another year, maybe 2. Because Jackson, you remember last year, right? 2 years ago when they went 8-4 with Spencer Rattler, and we all thought, okay, maybe South Carolina, they're making a name for themselves. Maybe they're going to come up in the SEC ranks, and then they have that down year, and now Jackson looks like they're on a path to 9-3 again. Is this just going to be South Carolina from here on out? Miss a bowl, then get 9 wins, get hope, then miss a bowl, get 9 wins, miss a bowl, an occasional 10-win season. Is this going to be their history? Because it seems like it.
Nah, it feels like South Carolina will be fine, but Missouri, who knows with them. The real test will be 2025. Which Missouri are we getting? The 2023 one or the 2024 one?
I mean, honestly, Jackson, I feel like with Missouri, I feel like their schedule, they didn't really have that hard of a schedule this year, to be honest with you. And they still lost 3 games. Because Missouri could have easily, with the talent that they had returning, could have easily went 11-1 and made the title game. That's how soft their schedule was. But that just goes to show, without Cody Schrader in that running game and Drew Pine not being on the – I mean, not Drew Pine. Brady Cook being on the field, it just goes to show that Missouri was not that good of a football team.
Oh, they were overrated. I mean, there's a reason why I put them as one of my top 10 overhyped teams in the preseason in the top 10 for the Voice College Football. I felt like Missouri was one of those teams that got overhyped by their victory over Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. Ohio State had a lot of opt-outs, and if Ohio State didn't have their players opting out, they would have beaten Missouri. I don't think Missouri had any opt-outs against Ohio State, which that helped in their favor right there.
No. That's the problem with the whole bowl system, as we've talked about, is if you're a team like Missouri, you're going to play against Ohio State because it's the biggest opportunity you're ever going to get. It would be like, and this is no shot across the bow at anybody, but it's like if Minnesota and Alabama matched up in a big-time New Year's Six bowl. All PJ Flex players, they're going to play. Well, Alabama may just be like, oh well, Minnesota beats us, oh well, good for them. It's no shot at either one of you. It's just how it is now. And Dave, you would probably agree with me. PJ Fleck would probably have all his players playing for that game.
Yeah, I would definitely say yes. I mean, it depends. I mean, yeah, that would be a game that would definitely PJ would do that. I mean, I think when we played Auburn, I think only 2 players from Auburn decided just like to bid out that one year back in 2019. But yeah, I definitely can say that Minnesota will be definitely hyped up for that game. Well, in 2030, we'll see it. Bowl game or not.
I'll say this, though. What is going on in LSU? Like, what in the blue moon is going on? Like, LSU was one of my – I had LSU going 10-2. They're making my preseason pick look bad. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jackson. I stole your thunder. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you and I gotten into a humongous debate about Brian Kelly and LSU a few weeks back. Like, we were basically just, cussing at one another for an hour or so over LSU. I was just like, he's going to disappoint you.
You know what, Jackson? You can say whatever you want about Brian Kelly. I'm done defending that guy. Like, really? You can't even beat pitiful Florida? Like, really? This is the stage of LSU we're at. You can't beat pitiful Florida. And I get it. Florida's been playing tough against a lot of teams this year. They played Georgia pretty tough. They almost beat Tennessee. They routed Kentucky, they're Kentucky. But really, LSU, you can't beat Florida. This is the stage we're at now? Really? Did Alabama break you that bad?
Yes. Yes, they did break them that bad.
Yep. I'm going to say this is what I'm going to say about it. This game just basically shows that the SEC is not as good as it used to be.
Yeah.
It's still a great conference. It's still a great conference, but it's just way too, like, a lot of these schools are way too evenly matched now. They're not, and a lot of the Big Ten programs are not as good as they were last year.
Yeah, if this was LSU with Jay Daniels, this probably would have been a blowout, but it's not. I'm happy for Florida, though. My 8-4 pick might have been wrong, but if Florida goes 7-5, I would be 1 win off. So, thank you, Florida. And Jackson, I tried to warn you about Florida in the offseason. I told you the Gators they would play a lot of team stuff. I did tell you all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least Florida finally won against a ranked team before it falls into the ocean.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now they just got to beat Florida State, and that game will be on the CW. They can have that. They could play that game at noon after a rerun of Charmed or Gold Girls, whatever plays on the CW, or 2.5 Men.
Well, I mean, they can thank you for being a friend. That's all I could say. But we got Tulane and Navy. Tulane shutting out Navy, and the AAC conference title game is set as Tulane Army, and that's going to be a good one right there.
Yes, that will be, and I'm very excited for that game, especially if Army can pull off a victory against Notre Dame. It would pretty much almost be curtains, I feel, for Boise State then.
Yeah.
And then also, I want to say this, man, Navy is going to have a hard time if their quarterback is gone for the rest of the season because their backup was nowhere close.
Yeah, Oregon State got shut out today. What's been happening with the Beavers?
They lost to Air Force.
He said throw past the Beavers. He said keep throwing past the Beavers, Jackson. I thought he meant
it in sarcasm. My bad, man. My bad.
Clint Moses, this will be rectified when we get off air. I will fine Jackson $50,000 and I'll put him on a warning. I will take care of you, Clint Moses. Don't you worry. We'll get this straightened out.
Sorry
Jackson,
about that.
this is your warning.
Oh, man.
2 more warnings and you're fired.
All right. UNLV smacking San Diego State. I mean, yeah, of course. But the game of the night was Georgia-Tennessee. Did Georgia... Were they out? Were they in? Well, they let people know we're back. They shut out Tennessee in the second half.
See, this is what's frustrating about the SEC. Georgia, the team that struggles with Kentucky and they'll struggle with Florida for 3 quarters, but in their 2 biggest games, Texas and Tennessee, they win very convincingly. Explain that to me. Jackson, you're an SEC guy. Dave, I know you probably keep good tabs on it. Like, someone explain this to me. Like,
this is not your typical Georgia team, and I think, honestly, the reason why they've been so underachieving on offense is because of the fact they got Mike Bobo as offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Because it's just like...
I thought Tennessee was going to win this game. I thought Tennessee was going to win this game and Georgia's hopes of even making the playoffs. But then again, a 3-loss Georgia team is probably the only 3-loss team that would probably make the playoffs because their strength of schedule is very tough.
Yeah. You're probably right. I think they even said it tonight. Even if Georgia loses either to UMass or Georgia Tech, they're still thinking they would probably still get a spot.
Okay, if they lose to UMass, they're not getting a spot. That's probably the biggest thing I would say. They're not getting a spot if they lose to UMass. They don't deserve a spot if they lose to UMass. Georgia Tech, I could probably see because Georgia Tech's a lot better. But UMass, no way. If they lose to UMass, they might as well just end their season right then and there and just not even show up for the next game.
Well, I was watching a little bit. I was watching Alabama Mercer because, gotta do the post game, of course. And I was watching one part of it at one point, and the announcers were talking about the game. They were talking about like the SEC titles and they're out of the blue, and they were just like, well, whoever's the loser of the SEC title, they shouldn't be left out. If you go to the SEC title game, then you should be in automatically, which that doesn't surprise me hearing that. I mean, of course, it's on SEC Network, and secondly, it's gonna happen. It's like somebody's getting screwed from the ACC or the Big 12.
See, here's the thing, and I'm sure Dave will tee off on it here in a second. But they do this a lot of times, where they'll be like, if it's a boring, low game where you're going, they'll kind of put that up there to pique your interest, being like, here's the race, here's all that. And here's the thing, Jackson, let's be honest. If we're in a world where if you go to the SEC title game, you're getting in. They were even talking about the Big Ten tonight. Let's just say they were saying, what if it's one loss Oregon against one loss Indiana or something? Or
Jesus.
they were talking about in the Big Ten, could a one-loss Big Ten team, a two-loss Big Ten team get left out?
Jesus. No.
And that's crazy to think about.
That's bullshit.
No, but hearing that though tells me, like, wait a minute. So they are trying to make this an all SEC kind of tournament thing. They're just doing it due diligently.
It's ESPN that owns the rights. I don't want to go into huge, biased, but let's face facts. The SEC gets a lot of boosting up from ESPN.
Oh, yeah.
Because, they have the rights, the television rights to the playoffs, and they have the television rights to the SEC. And like I said, the SEC is having a down year this year, but it's not that like I said, there's still a damn good conference. I'm not saying that the Big Ten's automatically better. It's just things are a lot more even now. And it has been more even, I would say, since probably 2014. I think the SEC's dominance basically stopped right then and there. Then everybody else was able to catch up a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to bring this to the forefront. So I was watching the ESPN halftime show for Arizona and Kansas State while I was flipping through, and they were talking about how many realistic teams could the SEC get in.
Oh,
and I kid you not, one of them said, and I wanted to say this while we're on air. I didn't want to. One of the reporters said they realistically could see 7 teams getting a spot, and I'm thinking 7.
Oh,
and I'm thinking, okay,
that's ridiculous.
And I'm like, okay, let me hear him out. And he was like, Texas A&M, Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss. I'm thinking there's 5. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm waiting for the other 2. And then he's like, oh, of course, Tennessee. And then you could maybe sneak LSU in there. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me?
No way. That's no way.
I can assure you, Jason, the Big Ten is not going to be the one that gets screwed over.
I kid you not. They were talking about that. I'm thinking, wait a minute. Wait. You're telling me 7 SEC teams? I could see 5. I'll do 5. But 7? That means you're screwing over 2 Big Ten teams. You're screwing over Notre Dame in there. And you're screwing over the G5 champion, probably.
They want to get 7 in if it was back in the early 2000s and mid 2010s. They would get 5, maybe 6 at most back then.
So
they would get 7.
So here's the thing, not to get too deep off on a tangent, and I'm sure this is going to get people fired up for the night. Realistically, I'll start with you, Jackson. Realistically, how many teams from the SEC do you think should be in the playoffs? Realistically.
Oh, I'd say about 4 SEC teams.
Okay. Dave, how many SEC teams realistically?
I would say 3 are definitely strong, and the rest are basically like on the bubble, like really on the bubble. And
Okay, so
I would say Georgia's on the bubble for being the 4th one.
I'll say this. I'm kind of like in between. I'll go 4. I think Texas will have a spot. I think Alabama's has a spot waiting on them. I think Georgia, Tennessee, and Ole Miss are kind of teeter-tottering on. But you look at it, I think the Big Ten could get 4 as well because you got Ohio State, of course, Oregon, Penn State, and then Indiana.
True.
Yeah.
And even Clint Moses is in agreement. 4 from the Big Ten.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what's going to happen.
Only team – we're not cut you off, Jackson. The only team in the Big Ten that might get screwed over is Indiana. Penn State, they went out. They're in. Too much brand bias, too much money for them not to put them in. Of course, Ohio State's going to be in.
I think,
and
honestly,
of course, go ahead, buddy.
I think, honestly, you know, like how we were talking about the other night, TCU, all they needed was a close loss or a win. They were good to go in 2022.
You think history needs to repeat itself?
I think so. If Ohio State, Indiana goes to overtime next Saturday, Indiana gets in with a win against Purdue. No questions asked. I mean, it doesn't matter. If the Indiana loses a tight one to Ohio State, or we see them go to overtime against Ohio State, or if it's like a 3 overtime game, the Hoosiers are in. All they really have to do is put the candles on the birthday cake with a victory over Purdue.
See, here's my thing, and Dave, you're a Big Ten guy, so you can really put something on this just as Jackson could. But here's my problem. What the argument's going to be against Indiana is their schedule is weak, and people will look at it. And I agree with you, Jackson. If they keep it close to Ohio State, I think they've earned a spot. But will they give it to them? I don't know, because they'll look at Indiana and be like, are we really going to get TV money with them? Do we really want to see them play Texas and get slaughtered?
I think they're a great story, and I'll be honest with you, if they're a one-loss team, but the loss would have to be very, very close with Ohio State. It would have to be like a last-second touchdown or field goal or going to overtime type of loss. And then I think the committee would consider that to be, okay, they've proven themselves to keep up with at least with one of the big boys that we want to see in the playoffs. So if they get blown out by Ohio State, then it'll just look really bad on their part. And they didn't, like we said, they didn't play anybody, and they almost lost to Michigan, which Michigan was not that good this year at all.
Well, and I think too, a lot of it depends on, whether we like it or not. But a lot of this hinges on Notre Dame as well, because Notre Dame not being in a conference, you got to look at their schedule different than you do everybody else's. So how do we compare Notre Dame's schedule with the Indiana's or whoever's on the bubble?
I would say it's equal to Indiana's, because this Notre Dame schedule was like I said, was bad. But I mean, today they were probably hoping for Louisville to win out the rest of their games, and unfortunately, because that makes that win against Louisville to be a lot better. But they don't really have any major wins. They beat a ranked Navy team convincingly. I don't know how well they're going to play against Army, but I'm pretty much sure that they're going to probably beat Army. And USC is just not that good this year.
I'll say this, Dave and Jackson. If Texas A&M goes to the SEC title game, I think the committee, even if A&M loses that game, I think they'll have no choice but to put Notre Dame in the end because Notre Dame will have the claim to fame. Guess what? We beat the team that went to the SEC title game, the conference that you love. So guess what? We now have a spot, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you said, Dave,
it doesn't matter that they lost to a middle of the road MAC team.
Yeah. And I could see a point too, like you said, Dave, where they'll be like, okay, Notre Dame, we'll begrudgingly put you in. But guess what? You got to go to Alabama to start. Work your way out of that.
Yeah, they're going to be like an 11 seed or a 10 seed.
And have to play Penn State or Alabama as the reward. And then they'll probably get exposed, and then people are going to be like, I thought Notre Dame was legit. Nope. Scheduling.
Yeah, their schedule has not been the same since they joined that ACC 5-game stuff. They're not able to play the more powerful conferences. The ACC really hold them down, especially this year, and especially with like Florida State being just god awful.
Oh gosh, Jackson, I'm so glad we didn't have to watch them play today. Like, I'm sorry, Florida State fans, but golly, that's bad football to watch.
Oh yeah, our friend Jason O is not too crazy about USC, where he's like, I'm tired of people saying they're talented or saying they're good, but just performing poorly. They're just ass.
Oh boy, yeah. Here's the thing, not getting too long around here, but USC, they've been down for so long that when USC had those 2 great years, that great year of Caleb Williams, it gave them a little slimmer of hope that they may be something again. And now they've fallen back to irrelevancy once again. And they're like, this is no fun. Hey, Dave, I'll never forget when Minnesota beat them. I had a couple friends that are from California that love USC. I immediately texted them and I said, Minnesota, really? And they were like, it was a fluke game. It won't happen again. And then it happened again. And it's just like their excuse for everything. It's a fluke. And I'm like, I just love it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to our USC fans, but it's funny.
The funny thing about the whole entire thing is every time I hear that guy from Trojans Live, and all he talks about is, they don't call holding in the Big Ten. They don't call holding. Like, get over it, dude. You got to adjust.
Get used to it. Because in the Big Ten, they let you play. It's more physical. Like, I've noticed that. I will say this, though. Speaking of that, I forgot to bring this up about Wisconsin. And I know, Jackson, you're getting ready to promote. I'll say this. Wisconsin, they had a nice little run, and they called a chop block that brought it back. Like,
oh, Dave, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. Did you see that, Jackson?
Mm-hmm.
The chop block? The phantom chop block? And even the Noah Black and Noah Eagle, and Todd Blackledge were like, there's nothing really there. That was legal. And that cost Wisconsin a touchdown because they would have gone up, I think, 17-6.
No, it cost them a first down. It was a first down. They were driving. Okay. They were driving. They're still way back.
Yeah. My bad. Yeah. But yeah, the phantom chop block. I mean, well, the thing too was there was another penalty that they had. Oh, it was the one when they were down on the goal line too. That was really bad. The illegal man downfield, and then Braden Locks was like, he threw it. It was a touchdown, but then they called it back for illegal man downfield. Was that illegal man downfield?
I just remember that being close to being him, the quarterback crossing the line in the scrimmage. I thought they were going to call it illegal. At first, I thought they were going to call it an illegal pass because he was really right on the line of scrimmage before he released that ball. But
I know Dylan Gabriel had one too, I think, in the game, where I think he slipped out of the sack, and it looked like he threw it just as he was going across. Like I know they teach you as a quarterback to be aware of that line, but it seems like a lot of them get really close a lot of times. Like, we've seen it a lot this year with that, where it's like, oh, no. And one of you can explain it to me, but if you go across it and they come back, can you throw the ball? Like, I'm not like is that like if you go across the line of scrimmage as a quarterback, can you back yourself up and then throw it, or do you just have to go and run?
You have to go and run. I think I'm not 100% sure on that rule, but I'm pretty sure once you cross the original line of scrimmage, you're already a runner, and you can't be going back and trying to throw.
I got you. And Jason O says Pete Carroll recruited like a freaking maniac. He built super teams with players from coast to coast that are days over. Pete Carroll ain't coming back, and no other coach could do pay. Okay, thank you. I thought I knew the rule, but I could have been wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And Jason, I don't know why you're upset at USC. I don't know if you're just mad at their fan base tonight, but you're making great points. Jackson, I don't know what USC did to him, but apparently he's laying the smackdown on
them.
But before we let you go, though, Dave, who's Minnesota got next week?
Penn State. The biggest game of the year for the Gophers.
Yeah, I was going to say, Austin. Yeah, don't forget about that game, man.
Wake up. Well, Dave, what's your early thoughts on that game? What do you thinking? Close game, Penn State blowout, maybe Minnesota runs them out of the building. What you thinking?
Well, what I'm thinking and what I'm hoping is two different things. And I'm going to say this. My body, how should I say this? My mind still thinks it's 20. I said before, my mind still thinks I'm 29. My humor still thinks I'm 12. And my body thinks we died and go to hell.
Damn.
Gone to hell. I'm sorry, gone to hell.
What'd you do to do that, man?
But oh gosh! But when it comes to this game, I really feel that I feel the Gophers have a chance. It's going to be a squeaker. It's going to be a field goal, last second field goal squeaker.
I can see it.
It's going to be probably a defensive stand type game.
I can see it. I can see it. I really can. I mean, me and Jackson, of course, we'll give our predictions on Wednesday, but I'll say this. I hope for your sake, Dave, they do win, because it's nice to see Minnesota get a big win. It's good for college football, and it's good for the Big Ten, and you get to put Penn State in their place. So there is that.
Yeah. This would be a big game, but even if this is a close loss, it'll show how much we improved after last week, and hopefully get into that with.
What happened?
I have no clue, but I'll say this, Jackson. If Dave comes back, we know what to do. But I will say this, Jackson. It was a wild week, and as you always say, good buddy, when it looks like Cupcake Week, there's upsets happening. And unfortunately, good buddy, we got another cupcake week on the horizon. I mean, Tennessee UTEP and Georgia UMass, really. Thanks, SEC. But as you say, though, Jackson, could there be more spoilers on the way? Who knows? Maybe Oklahoma stuns Alabama, or maybe Indiana stuns Ohio State, or Penn State loses a tight one to Minnesota, or maybe Wisconsin loses to Nebraska. Who knows? Look, possibilities are endless. But speaking of Alabama, since I brought them up, and you know what, Jackson? For the sake of the college football world, Oklahoma winning would be fantastic, because not only would it be good for the college football world, but it would be good for the voice of college football at Alabama, especially this coming Monday when you have 3 special guests to talk a little Oklahoma week with you. Hold on, good buddy. I'm teeing you up. Let me do my thing here. I'm promoting for you. When you got 3 special people coming, and if they upset Alabama, it'll be wise of you to bring them on again to talk some Oklahoma. But now, go ahead, good buddy. Take it away. I'll let you go.
Well, I've got a wild week ahead of me for Monday afternoon for the 13th edition of Crimson Tide Live, Monday at 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, where I will be having Parker Thune from OU Insider, John Hoover from Sports Illustrated, and Preston Gant from the PG Show, and finally Eric Cooper from Unfair Sports, joining me and Johnny Burtz as we discuss the preview of the Alabama-Oklahoma matchup. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be a wild ride.
Exactly. But you know something, Jackson? What if people don't want to hear about Alabama? I've got the perfect place for them to go to avoid all that. Because, some people may be like, I don't like Alabama. I don't want to hear that on a Monday. Their Monday already stinks. They're like, I don't want to hear that. You know what'll cheer them up, Jackson? They could go find your channel and go find what you got cooking. Because
they can find me on Jet. There we go. Cooking. They can find me on Jackson Johnson 979 on YouTube, where I'm 113 subs away from that magic number 500. No worries, man. It's all good, man. Happy birthday, and we hope you have a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Dave. Roll the boat. Go Gophers.
There you go. Anyway,
back to Jackson cooking up the stew.
Well, they can check me out on Jackson Johnson 979, where I'm 113 subs away from the magic number 500. And they can check out my episodes of the Jacksonian. They can check out the File Whistle, the show that I do with Austin every weekend, and the Pets Analysis show every Wednesday night. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss it.
And Jackson, like you said, people can find you on X and Instagram and Threads. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a great place to be. I mean, especially for if you love content in general, Jackson is your man to be. He will keep you up to date. He'll even keep you up to date on the latest injury news. He'll take you. Heck, Jackson, I know he's humble, but Jackson, I'm sure he's getting ready to have President Trump on his podcast. Like, that's how good he is.
I don't know yet.
But yeah. And I'm sure Jackson, when you do, you'll share it with the world. But I will say, though, Jackson, if it's my turn to promote, which I don't know why anyone would want to watch my stuff anyway, when you're here, Jackson, because you're the star. I'm just here. I'm here to ride the coattails, baby. Woo! No, I'm just kidding. But in all seriousness, you can find me at Sports Talk with Austin 2002, where I got my Wednesday and Thursday shows. I mean, not Thursday. Wake up, Austin. Wednesday and Saturday shows with Jackson. The Picks and Analysis, Final Whistle. And, of course, throughout the rest of the college football season. Like I've been telling you all quite some time now, me and Jackson, we're going to go into bowl season with this. Give you our picks. We'll break down the bowl season, playoffs. We won't stop until there's a national champion crown. That's when this journey ends. So we still got a while. So buckle down. If you thought you were going to get rid of us, think again. We're going to be here a while. So get your popcorn, get your soda, get your vegan burgers, vegan hot dogs, get whatever you like. And tune in every Wednesday and Saturdays because the ride's not over yet. And you can find me on Twitter as well. And I talk all things Cowboys, Cardinals. I even tweet about Colorado time to time. I tweet about USC. Whatever's suit my fancy that night or day. But Jackson, it was an exciting week of college football. Even for being Cupcake Week, we had some disappointments, some surprises, some close games, some upsets. And hopefully next week delivers just as good. But
here we go.
It is up to you. I have one thing before we go, Jackson. It is up to our audience. If they love this show, and I know they do, they'll do this favor for both of us. Make sure you like, and comment, and subscribe, and click on the notification bell so you never miss another great video from either me or Jackson, and you'll know when we go live. It lets us know we're doing a good job for our people, and we're for the people. We are for the people. We are the team late night. So, with that being said, we wish you a good night. We love you guys. Thank you for being here. This has been Sports Talk with Austin. Austin, as my partner in crime, Jackson. Take us out, Jackson.
Roll Tide and go Cards, everybody.
Too sweet, everybody.